Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer issues will be the focus of the campaign trail Thursday night. The Human Rights Campaign Foundation and CNN teamed up to host a town hall focused exclusively on LGBT issues. Cory Booker, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, Julian Castro, and Tom Steyer are all in attendance. There will also, though, be some notable absences. Senator Bernie Sanders originally accepted an invitation to attend, but had to cancel after suffering a heart attack last week. Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang also won't be there. Both campaigns cited scheduling conflicts. Zeke Stokes joins me now. He's a senior advisor with the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, commonly known as GLAAD. Zeke, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what is it that the community wants to hear from candidates tonight?
Well, we're starting out at a good place tonight with all of these candidates for president. They're all allies to the LGBTQ community, but that's really just the starting line. It's not the finish line. I think LGBTQ people want to hear from these candidates, one, that they understand the damage that the Trump administration has done to our community over the last 3 years and that they have a plan to reverse it. But even broader than that, that they really understand the plight of LGBTQ Americans, how all issues affect our communities very uniquely, not just specifically LGBTQ issues, but issues like healthcare, education, a woman's right to choose, climate change. All of those are also LGBTQ issues. So our community is really looking for someone who can represent all of that, who's a strong ally, but really has a strong plan for the future and is able to communicate that and convince us that they can beat Donald Trump.
That is big. If you got a plan and you can't beat the incumbent, that's not going to do anybody any good. Okay, so the U.S. Supreme Court is considering whether existing federal law bans job discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. We've just had oral arguments. There's no decision expected for a while. But how do you think the candidates will handle that case today?
We know there are 26 states in this country where you can be fired from your job for being LGBTQ, and that's what's in front of the Supreme Court right now. The answer to that is, one, we need the Supreme Court to rule in our favor. It's a much more conservative court than it was a number of years ago when marriage equality became the law of the land. And so in 26 states, you can get married on Saturday and be fired from your job on Monday. We have to correct that injustice. The answer to it, in part, is passing the Equality Act, and I'm sure we'll hear all of these candidates tonight talk about their support for the Equality Act. It's been passed through the House by Speaker Pelosi and the Democratic majority, stalled in the Senate because Mitch McConnell will not bring it up for a vote. We need a Senate that will pass it and send it to a president's desk who will sign it. That will remedy employment protections for LGBTQ people across this country.
Now, the candidates do have a little bit of a challenge here. The language around LGBTQ issues, it's becoming more nuanced. I mean, how do you expect them to address that? Will they be more careful? Is that something the community is watching very closely?
Yeah, I think the community is watching. These candidates are smart. They've done their research. They know the community that they're talking to and about. I think they're going to do just fine. And when we see slip-ups, and we will, not just from these candidates, but from people in everyday life, in all walks of life, we have to say that's okay. It's an education moment. It's an opportunity to teach. It's an opportunity to demonstrate an evolution toward acceptance and understanding. And that's what this is all about. So we're not out to punish anybody.
But Julian Castro did get some negative attention after the first debate when he said that transgender females need access to abortion. Let's listen to what he said.
I don't believe only in reproductive freedom. I believe in reproductive justice. And what that means is that just because a woman, or let's also not forget someone in the trans community, a trans female, is poor, doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to exercise that right to choose.
Castro's campaign corrected his comments, saying he misspoke and meant to refer to transgender men who still have a female reproductive system. So what should candidates be considering when addressing transgender people?
Well, I think, as he said, he misspoke, and it certainly was a moment of that needed clarification. But I will say this, I think what's important is that he and all of these candidates are demonstrating that they understand that the issue of reproductive freedom is also an LGBTQ issue. That's really important for Americans to hear. It's really important for LGBTQ people to hear that these candidates understand that, and I have every bit of confidence that Julian Castro certainly understands that.
As the only openly gay candidate in the race, do you expect that Pete Buttigieg will get special scrutiny here? Is he held to a slightly different standard?
Maybe. You know, I think he's demonstrated very well that he can represent the LGBTQ community on a national stage with a lot of hot spotlights, and I think he's done extraordinarily well as the first openly gay candidate to reach this level of success. That said, I do think that the LGBTQ vote is still up for grabs. We're looking, as I said, for candidates who can not only represent our community well, but really plot a path forward toward a time in this country when we can reach full equality, 100% equality and acceptance for all people, wherever they live, whomever they love, or however they identify. And I think Mayor Buttigieg put out a great plan today that reflects that he has a lot of understanding around that, but so do a lot of these other candidates. And I think LGBTQ people are still looking around and seeing who fits the most. But I'll tell you, in Iowa, for instance, there's 87,000 LGBTQ adults. I know all of these candidates would love for those 87,000 LGBTQ people to caucus for them. So this is very much up for grabs, and I think we're going to see a lot of great conversation tonight.
Well, it'll be very interesting to watch tonight and throughout the next little over a year we've got until the election.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can. It's been a long time coming. Zeke Stokes, thank you very much.
Thank you.